Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Michelle with Creative Operation, and I have a Country Craft Creations design team project that we're going to do a tutorial on today. I did share this album and we're going to recreate it using Gingerbread Village. These are both new packages of paper from Country Craft Creations. New designs are really awesome. This one is Happy Honk-oween and this one is Gingerbread Village. So we're going to recreate this one with this one, and I've got some great ideas and I've got things to show you, so I'm super excited about that. This is the prototype album, and again, this is Happy Honk-oween, and the fun thing about this album is that it has a couple different things. So we're using the binder mechanism from 49 and Market to put the pages in. This first time I've played with them and I absolutely love them. I'm going to use white for the Gingerbread Village book, but I use black, of course, for the Halloween book. And so we're going to have binder pages that are basically really nice photo album pages. And then I use scraps to make smaller pages. So again, I did do a walkthrough with this one, and so I'll link that down below so you can see it. But we're also going to do a pop-up. It has a magnet closure, and then we're going to do this really fun pop-up. Let me make sure you guys can see that. It's really fun, very easy, and does a nice job. So this paper collection is 8x8. That's what I'm using. Now I am also adding a couple other things from my design team package for this tutorial. Let me show you here. I basically kind of used it all, but here's the package. In my haul video, I shared that I got the pearlescent card in cream, or coffee cream, I should say, and this is a bit of it left over from prepping my tutorial. It's gorgeous. We're going to use that with the Gingerbread Village book. So I am using that, and I am using all 5 sheets of this. At this point, I'm using it all. And then we're also going to be using the coordinated cardstock. Let me grab those so you can see that. The coordinating cardstock that comes with the Gingerbread Village is adorable. And then there's a darker green that I'm going to be using for the cover. But these are 4. There's 6 sheets, 2 of each of 3 colors, and they're, you know, double-sided. So you get these gorgeous colors. They're just beautiful. So let's see, let me show you. These are the 4 right here. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling, but hey, it's going to be a fun tutorial. I think you're going to like it. So let's get this out of the way. I am using white artisan cardstock for this project as well. And again, this is using Gingerbread Village. So I've already prepared a few things. I did the lay flat cover method, so we're going to go over that. If you aren't familiar with that, I will link a video down below where I go through that process in detail and show you how to do that. But I'll give you all the measurements for this book for the lay flat method, and then I've already done the front cover, and I will show you how to do the back cover because it's basically the same. So let's go ahead and get started here. This is my cover. So far without the cover decoration, we're going to go over that. Isn't that gorgeous? So this here is the Tonic Studio pearlescent card, and then the green is the Country Craft Creations coordinating cardstock, or coordinating papers that go with this powder paper collection. And then this is 2 of the background kind of backside papers, and I absolutely love the floral with the plaid. I just love it. And then this is a piece of ribbon that I did get in my design team package, and this ribbon that I used here is the satin gold and champagne that I used from my design team package on this album. So we're using the brown gingham there on this particular page. So I'm doing the covers basically the same. Okay. Now, one thing to remember is that if you've seen the full walkthrough of the Halloween book, I am probably going to do some stuff maybe a little bit different depending on like what the pictures are in the collection, you know, and the ephemera pieces that I have and things like that. So, you know, look at both videos and you can kind of see, you know, what I did and where I'm doing it. But we'll try to keep this as similar as possible. So let's get started with the covers. The dimensions for the chipboard and the cardstock to make your covers with the lay flat method. You need 2 pieces of heavyweight chipboard that are 9.5 by 8 3/4, and then 1 piece that's 1.5 by 8 3/4, and that is for the spine. The cardstock to cover is all white artisan cardstock, and you'll need 2 pieces that are 11.5 by 10 3/4, one piece that's 4.5 by 10 3/4, that's to cover the outside spine, and then the piece that is 5.5 by 8 5/8, that is covering the inside spine. Okay, so that makes the lay flat method. Okay, I'll show you that. Just opened up really well. That's the outside. Okay, and then, you know, of course, the inside. Now, I did, like I said, I have done some prepping because it's actually very, very easy. Okay, but those are the cover measurements. Again, I'll have the cut guide for the cardstock down below. The cut guide for pattern papers and things like that I'm going to give you during the tutorial. Have a pad and paper ready, and I'll give you those measurements during the tutorial. Okay, so there's the cover. Then let's talk about the cover mats. So I have, let me get this card for a second. We'll go over this. So for the covers, I use the tonic pearlescent on the inside and the outside covers. Okay, so that is this beautiful coffee cream paper right here, and you will need 4 pieces. That is 9.25 by 8.5. Okay, that gives you a nice kind of 1/8 inch border all the way around to show off all the beautiful colors in this collection. So I wanted to do that. I usually go 1/8 of an inch down, but this time because I'm doing a lot of matting and I wanted to show off the colors, I went 1/4 of an inch smaller. So 4 that are 9.5 by, or excuse me, 9.25 by 8.5. So you're going to have 2 for the inside, and then you will have 2 for the outside. That's the first mat. Then the second one I wrote down as Country Craft Creations CCC Coordinating. That's the coordinating solid paper that comes with this paper collection that I did get in my design team package. And you need 2 pieces that are 9 by 8.25. That is this green, and that's only for the outside covers at this point. Okay, we're going to be working on the inside later. So that's why there's only 2 right there. And then the pattern paper. Okay, so the floral paper that I chose, I cut, it's 8 by 8 coming out of the package, and I just trimmed 1 inch off. So it's 7 by 8, so 7 wide by 8 tall. And then I chose this beautiful plaid, and I cut 2 strips that are 2 by 8. Okay, so that's what that is right there. And I'm going to show you how to put this together right now with the ribbon so that you can see it, and then we'll add it to the outside cover. Now for this album, it is important to kind of get your cover done first before we do put the binder mechanism in, because the binder mechanism doesn't budge. So it needs to be done last on this particular album. So you will need a piece of ribbon that I cut at 11 inches. So we'll need that. And then this is the pearlescent card that is 9.25 by 8.5. So we're going to take the green here, and I'm going to flip that over. That's the other side of that green. Isn't that beautiful? The colors are just gorgeous. I love the colors in this. In my kitchen at Christmas time, I always do a gingerbread theme, and so this will fit right into like my kitchen theme. So I think this will be really fun. It's gorgeous paper, I tell you. All right, so this coordinating again is 9 by 8.25, and then I'm just going to lay that down and get that centered. It's going to be about 1/8 of an inch all the way around here. And then I'm going to grab my little spreader here, spread that around, wipe up our little extras here. Spreading it around does help make sure that you don't have any like glue ripples in your paper. So that's always good to do. I sometimes tend to forget to do that because a lot of times if you see me in my videos, I'm constantly using my little gauze pad here, and I'm really putting a lot of pressure. So I kind of spread it that way too. But if you have a spreader, it's a lot easier on your joints, that's for sure. All right, so that's the first layer. Now the front cover, we're going to do it mirror opposite to the back cover. So on this one here, we're going to have to add our florals to the left side, okay? Because we want the plaid right here. So I'm going to make sure I do that so I don't goof it up. And we're just going to glue that to the left side. And I know I hate cutting or covering this, but I've got an idea. You get 3 of these in each pack. So I'm going to use this on, I believe, the the pop-up. I think that's going to be gorgeous, that page right there. So don't worry, we still have one more of these that I'm going to be able to utilize in this album. Okay, so again, I'm just going to center that right like so, top and bottom, and about 1/8 of an inch to the side. Try and make sure that's nice and even. Okay, let's get our little spreader action. Try and prevent the ripples. Okay, so then once you get that piece done, and then that again is 7 by 8, then we're going to grab our little piece of plaid here, and we're going to go ahead and put that on. And this again is 2 inches, so it will overlap a little bit, and I did that on purpose. Okay, so we're going to put that down, and then I'm going to talk to you about the spine, because I got a different idea for this spine than I did the Halloween one, but I'll give you the measurements for the Halloween one in case you want to do it in that style. But I have a different idea, so I'm just going to line this up and glue that down. Okay, okay. All right, so then I'm going to turn it sideways, and I'm going to get my score tape, and what I'm going to do is put score tape right to the edge of that plaid paper. Okay, just right to the edge. And then we'll go ahead and take our ribbon, and I'm going to put this right over the top of that. So I'm going to try and make sure I cover everything. All right, so there's that, and then it's hanging over the side because we're going to turn it over, and we're going to just put a little more score tape down and wrap that around. Okay. Like so. Okay, so that is the back cover done. So if we get our album, and I know it's kind of big once it's all laid out, but that goes right there. Okay, so that's how you make that, and use 8 by 8 papers and kind of extend it so you can have a wider album if you need to. You can do it the other direction and make it a taller album if you want to as well. If you want to just add another pretty strip of pattern paper and then use ribbon or something like that, you can extend your 8 by 8 papers and make them bigger, basically. So I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to stand up here so I can see. Okay. I'm just kind of eyeball centering it like so. And then use my spreader, try and get that glue spread around real good. Okay, there you go. So there's that. So now if you want to cover the spine the way that, let me open this up, that I covered the spine here, let's give you some measurements so you can do that. All right, so the first measurement for the green, so that first layer of matting, is 1 3/8 by 8 1/2. The orange mat is 1 1/8 by 8 1/4. And then the pattern paper here is 7/8 by 8. Okay, so if you want to do the spine like I did this one, those are the measurements that you need. Okay, but I am going to do something different because I have this gorgeous crinkle ribbon. I decided that I'm going to use that, wrap it around the spine, and tie it in a beautiful bow on the spine. So I'm going to not put pattern paper here because it'll be covered up with ribbon anyway, and we're going to do that. So that is my plan for this. But if you don't want to do that with a big, wide, beautiful piece of that ribbon, then you can definitely, let me open this up again, do it like so. Okay? So that is the first part done with the outside cover. Now, the cover picture, so again, like I told you, I'm trying to recreate, but some of the ephemera pieces are different. So in this particular package, you have some sheets that have these beautiful cut-aparts. And so I went through the cut-aparts and I chose the one that I thought would be really cool on the front of it. And I really loved kind of this winter theme here. I thought that was beautiful with the florals. So I cut that out, and when I did, that measured, let me see. I wrote it down. I wrote it down right here. Okay. So when I cut that out, I got these measurements. So the pattern paper, which is the fireplace image, is 2 5/8 by 4. Then the Country Craft Creations coordinating paper is 2 7/8 by 4 1/4. And then the tonic pearl, I did the same layers. The tonic pearl is 3 1/8 by 4 1/2. Okay. So I'm gonna put this off to the side for now. And I will put that back on the album later when I do the decoration and then the spine. Okay, so but I've got it ready to go. It's just all layered down and ready to go. So I'm going to put that off to the side. I'm going to put this off to the side for a second, and then we're going to make a couple more things here. So let's actually do the pop-up. Let's do the pop-up. For the front cover pop-up with Gatefold, we're going to kind of do this in sections because there's a couple pieces that we need to put together. So we're going to need a base piece that is 9 by 8 1/4, and then you're going to need 2 that make the Gatefold that are 5 1/4 by 8 1/4. Okay, so let's put this off to the side for a second. I'll put this up here, and then we'll grab our pieces and our scoreboard. Now the 9 by 8 1/4, we don't need to score. Okay, no scoring on that one. Just put that off to the side. The 5 1/4 by 8 1/4, we're going to score at 1/2 and 3/4. Okay, 5 1/2 at the, or 5 1/4 at the top, 8 1/4, score at 1/2 and 3/4. All right, that's it for that. So let's fold and burnish. Okay, that's going to give you a 1/4 inch gusset to help house that pop-up. Okay, make it fit really nice. Okay, we're going to fold and burnish. When I fold a long score, I know I say this all the time, just start in the middle and work your way out, and you tend to get a better, straighter score with that. Okay, so you have those two pieces, and then scissors. We'll miter the 1/2 inch only, leave the 1/4 inch alone. We don't want to do any mitering with that. And then do the other one. Okay. And then get your piece of your back base piece here, and we're just going to glue those right to the front. Okay. So we're going to fold that 1/2 inch. And we're going to glue it right to the side there. Make sure everything's nice and lined up straight. Okay. Get the other side, and we're going to put it right on the opposite side, so we'll just do the same thing. Got some over there. I'm going to turn it around just so I can see it better. And glue that to this side, okay? Okay, like so. All right, then you can fold your gussets, and they should meet right in the middle because the pages are actually half the size of that base, so they should meet right in the middle really nicely. Okay, so then we'll put this off to the side for just a sec and then grab the next pieces. So the next pieces are the pieces that make the kind of folder for the pop-up, the actual full page itself. So for that, you need a piece that's 6 by 8.5 and a piece that is 6 by 8. Okay, the 6 by 8 we're not going to score. The 6 by 8.5, we're going to put it with the 8.5 at the top. We're going to score it 1/2, like so. And then for this one, because of, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Never mind. Okay, so fold that miter, and that's going to glue to this piece to make kind of the card, okay? Or the outside of the pop-up, I should say. All right. And then line that up, make sure it's nice and straight. Okay. That looks pretty darn good. All right. So that is the folder for the pop-up. Okay, put that off to the side. Next thing we need are 4 pieces that are 6 by 3. These are the mechanisms to create the pop-up. Okay, these are really super simple, very easy pop-up kind of style that work really good. So each piece is going to go in your scoreboard, 3 inches at the top, and you're going to score at 3/4, 1.5, 2 1/4. Okay, all 4 get scored the same. 3/4, oops, 3/4, 1.5, 2 1/4. Apparently I am pretty strong because I was able to score and move my paper at the same time. 3 1/4, 1.5, 2 1/4. Hope you guys had a good Halloween. We had a great Halloween. We had 15 kids, or 14 kids, I should say. Sorry. They were having a ball, even though it was raining. Oh my God, it was raining cats and dogs. It was crazy. But yeah, we had some brave souls out there. So it was pretty fun. All right, so then fold and burnish all of these. All right. So that's all you're going to do with that, is just fold and burnish all of those, okay? So you're going to have a piece that looks like that, okay? So we'll do it again. We're going to do it 4 times, and then we can continue on with that next step. So those pieces are ready to go. Now we just need the photo mat pieces. So I cut some photo mats that are, you need 1 each, 4 by 7, 4 by 6, 4 by 5, and 4 by 4. Now you can cut this 4 by 7 and 4 by 5 out of one 4 by 12 strip. You can cut the 4 by 6 and the 4 by 4 out of the a second 4 by 12 strip. So that's how I did that. But you need one that's, again, 4 by 7, 4 by 6, 4 by 5, and 4 by 4. Okay, we're not going to do any burnishing or anything with that. Those are all just ready to go. So then we gotta just put this together. So I think it'll be easier if we put the cover paper on first before we put the mechanism on. So I'm gonna do a little bit of cutting and then I'll be right back. My desk is kind of a mess, but I've got everything cut. We've got all of our pieces. We're ready to start kind of putting things together. So I did some paper cutting. We're gonna put these on. But I will kind of go through this with you. So I haven't made the mechanism yet. All I did was cut the paper to fit the top here. And again, I cut it 1/4 of an inch smaller than the paper. So I'm keeping with that theme. So it's 6 wide, so I cut it at 5 3/4 by 7 3/4, and that covers the top. Remember, I told you I was going to use that house because I just love it. It's gorgeous. And then when you open this up, I did put a piece of paper here. It does not go all the way to the edge, and there is a reason for that. The mechanisms will cover that up, so we don't need to put pattern paper down there. So I did cut this piece at 7 inches tall, and it is, again, 5 3/4 wide. So, but it's only 7 inches tall. This will be covered up, so don't worry about it. And you don't need to cover the back at this point. And I'm going to wait to cover this part because I want to see what I have left over. Okay, but we can do that afterwards. But it is a lot easier to do this part first before we start building the mechanism. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to put some pieces of pattern paper on the sides, and we need to cover the inside panels here. So I did cut, and this was extra leftover scrap. So I just cut 2 pieces that were 2 by 8. And what we're going to do is just put that on the edge on the inside mechanism, okay? Or the inside of this piece that's going to be part of the mechanism. So I'm just going to put the pattern paper down on the edges, and then the pop-up will cover the rest of it, okay? So again, 1/8 of an inch in. All right. And just lay that down. My desk has just exploded. All right, I love the plaid. I think it's gorgeous, and I love the kind of woodsy theme of this paper. It's I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it. I think it's really pretty. Gingerbread and kind of woodland Christmas all wrapped up in one. So yeah, just lay that down. All right, those are going to cover the sides. Okay, make it look like you got pattern paper all the way across. Okay, so those are done. Then the inside panels, I chose this paper. Now, these are cut, I had to use 2 of the pieces of paper, and I had to cut them at 4 1/4 wide, okay, by 8. So it did take 2 pieces of paper to do that. So that's where I got that. And I'm just going to cover or glue that on. Get glue everywhere and all over my fingers and everything else too. There we go. Get these out of the way. I'll talk about that in a minute. So again, just lay that down. You should have 1/8 of an inch all the way around, kind of keeping with that measurement. Okay. Those trees, oh, they are so pretty. Move this over a little bit. Okay, lay that piece down. So those are done. And then we're going to turn our attention to the front of this. Going to get our magnets set and everything, and then we'll work on that pop-up. Okay, so here's the front, and this is what I'm doing with this one. So I used 1 piece of paper for this. I really wanted to make sure that the picture was kind of in continuity as much as possible with this, but then we have this gap here. So I took a piece of the Country Craft Creations coordinating solid, and I punched, and I went out of my comfort zone here. I went to a different punch, you guys. This isn't my go-to punch. This is a different punch, has a scallop. You can use any punch you want. This one's an old one, EK Success. I've had it for a million years. So that's the one I picked. So it has a pretty scallop border. I thought that was really pretty, and I wanted to use that. So I cut 2 strips. I punched it, and then what I did was I went and cut it off of the scrap paper to 3/4 inch wide. Okay, so punched it first, and then I cut the strips. So let's open this, turn it around. Okay, so we're going to, the couch is in the middle of everything, so we're going to glue this down, and then we're going to put the edge over here. So that's how I'm going to kind of fill that space. So again, you can use any punch you want. You can use, you know, any paper you want. I was just kind of going through the scraps that were sitting by my trimmer, and I was like, these are perfect. So that's why I chose those. Okay, so I'm laying that down, centering it on that right side there, and top and bottom. Okay, So this is by that fold right here. So then I'm just going to take my little strip, and I could have used the green too, so it doesn't, you know, whatever color works for you. And I'm just going to put a little bit there. And then if you want to, you can try and get those little edges, but I don't know how well I'm going to be able to do that. So I'm just going to put a little bit to see if I can tack them down, so hopefully they won't fray or get caught on anything. All right, hopefully I'm in camera. Sorry, guys. Okay. And then I'm just going to lay that down. And again, I'm going to go 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch from that fold. Ooh, what did I do? I trimmed it too long. Okay, do-over. All right, sorry about that. I had to have a do-over here. I forgot to trim it to the right size, so duh. Got myself all excited. All right, so I'm going to lay that down. Now that it's trimmed to the right height. There we go. I'm just going to gently tap that down and those little glue bits that I did, and then that's going to be that side. So I need to trim this side as well. So let me do that. Trim it to 8 inches. Okay. And then this is what it's going to look like in the front. So this piece will glue here, and then this piece will glue here. All right. So now I'm going to do the closure. That's what we need to do next. We need to do the closure. Now, when I did my prototype, I did the closure kind of backwards. I wanted it to actually have the magnet on this side. So that is why I did this side first. Okay. So for the closure, I went through, and we don't have like the big 4x4s that were in the Happy Honk-oween. But again, I told you I was going to, you know, have to probably do a few things different. This was on the ephemera piece page, and it was just this cute little envelope with this little gingerbread man. And I thought this would work perfectly because it's not going to cover up too much of the picture, because I really didn't want to do that either. So first thing I'm going to do is I cut it out, and I'll give you the measurement in just a second. Should have done that first. It's 2 inches by 1 5/8 when I cut it out. So then I went through my scraps, and I found a green scrap. Okay, and so I cut that at 2 1/4 by 1 7/8. And then I got a piece of the pearl tonic card, 2 1/2 by 2 1/8. All right, so that's going to go there. But first, we need to put the magnet down. So this piece is going to center, you know, somewhere there, go like that. I'm going to put the magnet in between these 2 layers in here, and then adhere it to the card. So I've got my big basic gray magnets that you can get from Country Craft Creations, and I'm going to put this like on the back of that right here. Okay, I'm going to take that off for a second, and then we can glue that down. Okay, so let's do that. And you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to do my little tape thing, because I like the tape thing. I'm going to get a little bit of score tape and put over that magnet here real quick. I like to do that. So I just grabbed my, God, I'm a hot mess today. There we go. Okay. Okay, so then go ahead and glue this down. I'll hold that for just a second. Okay. All right. So then I need to figure out where I want it. So I'm just going to lay this down for just a second, kind of eyeball this and see like placement where I'm going to put it. I think, you know, it's kind of needs to be maybe somewhere in here, I think. I don't want it on the couch. I kind of want to keep the couch. So that's where I'm going to put it. Okay. So then magnet is here. I'm going to glue it down to this side because we already have the pattern paper going on over here. Okay. So halfway mark. And I'm going to eyeball it, but you can definitely, you know, use your ruler and, you know, center. And when I'm talking about center, I'm talking about this center right here. So I'm going to just put this like right about there. Make sure that's all straight. I just want to glue it to this side. Okay. Then I'm going to open it up and just make sure there's no glue coming out the other side. Okay. Then grab the rest of that magnet and we'll put it on there. And I'm going to fold this down so that my pages meet and set my magnet right there. Okay. Then I'm going to do my little tape thing again, and then we can glue that pattern paper over the top, and then that part will be done. And then we can go back after everything's all done, and you could put like a little something something here if you would like. That would be fun. So I'll put that here. I'm going to kind of go like right there. Okay. Then we can have our second piece. And whoop, that's not what I wanted to do. All right, so glue on the back of that. Okay, get in camera, Michelle. You kind of have to do this part before you do the mechanism because the mechanism is pretty bulky once we get it done. So it's easier to do this part first. And then what I'm going to do, so I'm going to just close this. Yep, look how perfect that matches. That's really good. Okay, I think that worked out pretty good. All right, then we'll grab our second piece and we can put that down, okay? Aren't you guys glad I picked a different punch? I do love that other one. I love that one so much. But I thought I need something a little bit more frilly for this one, even though that one is like my favorite, my go-to. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. So there's the gatefold. Finished. Inside's ready to go. So let's do our mechanism. Okay, we'll put this off to the side and grab our pop-up. Okay, so we've got this part done. So here's where we use these. So what you're going to do is these pieces just fold in half, okay, just like that. And then we're going to take one of these 3/4 inch rows here and we're going to put some glue. Just one. This is on the cut edge. So if you look at it open, it's on the outside edge. I'm going to flip this over, okay, like that. Where that score line is, where this folds, I'm going to lay that down, line it up, make sure it's like right in that corner, okay, and glue that down. Okay, so we're just gluing down that first score on this mechanism, okay? So fold it back in half, put glue on the other side, okay? So we're leaving the 2 3/4 inch strips at the fold. Those will be unglued, okay? Fold it in half and then hold it down and then fold your piece over. Burnish it. And then we're going to carefully open it up, and we're going to open it up flat, and we're going to burnish it again. We're going to burnish it flat, okay? You will have to do this, and it will nudge a little bit, and that is okay, all right? So then you can fold it again, okay? And then you've got your first mechanism piece in, okay? Now, this is where we need to grab our pieces. So we had those photo mats that we cut, the 4x7, 4x6, 4x5, 4x4. Cover these with patterned paper. I chose to use the coordinating cardstock, and this is the same paper, I just used the reverse side. So for the tallest one, you'll need a piece. They're all 3 3/4 inch wide. So you need a piece that's 6 for that 7-inch one, a piece that is 5 for the 6-inch piece, a piece that is 4 for the 5-inch tall piece, and then a piece that's 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 for the 4x4 piece, okay? So we'll have those ready to go. Once you get your first mechanism in, take the tallest one, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna glue this, and you can glue it anywhere you want. You can do it random, you can do it, you know, cascading, however you wanna do it. I kind of like the random. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put some glue down at the bottom here. Okay, and I think I'll start on this side this time and go right to the fold of that mechanism. Okay, and we're going to glue that down. Okay, that's your first piece in. Okay, next, grab your pop-up, your little mechanism, and we're going to do that. We're going to repeat the process. Okay, so we're just going to put glue on one side at that cut edge on that 3/4 inch piece. And we're going to go right to the bottom of the mechanism that we just did. Okay. Make sure it lines up side to side. Okay. Like so. More glue. We're just repeating their process. And this is why the pattern paper doesn't go all the way to the bottom, because this is going to cover this up. This is going to glue right there. And you don't want like too many layers in between here, because that'll kind of make it too bulky and it won't work right. Okay, so once you burnish that down, then you open it back up, lay it down carefully, you open it up carefully, burnish it down again. Okay, and your second mechanism is done. All right, so then you grab your next photo mat, wherever you want to put that, the bottom, put the glue. You don't want to go any higher than about 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to go right here. And again, you could put these in any, you know, like you can alternate them. You can put them all, you know, cascading one way or the other, whichever way you want to do it. So there's that. There's that second one. Okay. 2 more times. I don't have a glue pattern. I kind of just, I don't know. Sometimes I swirl, sometimes I do straight lines. I don't know. Okay, there we go. Okay, burnishing that down. Okay, making sure that's good. Okay, fold it back in half. We're just repeating the process. And then you hold it down, fold your piece in half. It does fold fairly flat, but it does get kind of bulky, you know. And then we're going to open it up ever so gently. Okay, keep your fingers on it so it doesn't fly apart. And art glitter glue does set pretty quickly, so we're good, right? Okay, last mechanism, number 4. Oh, you know what? I know you guys are screaming at me, weren't you? Put the mat on. Okay, so mat, I got ahead of myself. I got excited. All right. So I think this one, I'll go like maybe here. Okay, there's that. Now we can put this in. Okay, we're just lining it right up to that previous mechanism. Just don't go under that mechanism, okay? Just right to the edge of that, okay? Again, fold it in half, more glue. And I've got an idea to decorate this with the ephemera that comes, oops, with this pack. There we go. Okay. Okay, now the last photo mat is a full page photo mat because it's going to go right to the bottom edge anywhere you particularly want. And this is kind of cute because I have one here and then it cascades down. That's kind of fun. So I think that's cool. Let's do that, because if we do this, I don't know, would that look weird? Maybe better over there. So you can just play with the format, you know, however you want to do it. So I think I'll just go back over here like that. Get it a little bit straighter would be nice. Okay. Okay. We'll worry about pattern paper for this bottom part next, or later, I should say. But that is our mechanism right there. Isn't that cool? That's what it looks like from the side. Make sure you can see that. And then when you close it, it'll close like that. Okay? So, we'll take this piece. It'll probably be easier to put it in the book first and then put the mechanism in. So let's do that. Let's grab our cover, open it up, front page, right? Yep. And this is going to glue right inside of that photo mat, okay? And it is going to glue, fold it all in, and you will have, again, you know, 1/8 of an inch all the way around, okay? So you can see that beautiful pearl card. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm off camera because it's so big. Sorry guys, I'm still here. I really hope you like this. I had fun figuring this out. And I realized that this is kind of a simple album, you know, as far as like the pages, they're going to be super simple. But I think it's really cool. All right, so I'm just putting this in. This is definitely easier to do without the mechanism in it because you can pinch those sides really well and make sure you're nice and centered. Okay, then we'll open it up. Make sure that's all glued down really nice. Okay, make sure there's no glue seeping out the sides. Okay, and then here's our mechanism. We're just going to glue that whole back down. So I'm just putting glue on here. And, oh, we should center this, don't you think? That would probably be a good idea. Center of the cover is 4 3/4. And this is 6 inches, so we're going to use our centering ruler, and it's going to go at 3. And it's going to go right to the edge of your pattern paper because everything is 8 inches tall. Okay, so right to the edge of that pattern paper we lay down. All right. And we can open this up and kind of burnish that down. We can go in a little bit here on the sides with our bone folder. Like so. Okay. And there that is done. Okay, so here's our pop-up. Let me move it down a little bit. Okay, and then when you close it up, that's what it looks like. What do you think? I love it. I just love it. I think that's so cool. All right, so there's that. Now, what we need to do is do this back side. So we're going to work on some a pocket assembly for this, and then we'll be right back. All right, so for the back cover, we're going to put a pocket, and then the mechanism will also adhere to the back cover, and then that's where the pages will go on top of that. So you just need one piece of white artisan cardstock that is 4 3/4 by 9 1/4, and we're going to put it in our scoreboard, and we're going to score on 3 sides at 1/2. So I'm going to put it with the 9 1/4 at the top. I'm going to score at 1/2 and at 8 3/4. And then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to score at 1/2. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors. We're going to miter. And fold and burnish. We're going to make our pocket. We are going to need a little bit of Scotch tape, the clear tape, to do the tape trick for our bottom pocket. All right. Like so. Okay, so that's ready to go. And then I did cut my pattern papers, and yes, I want to use the gingerbread men. So I took a piece of 8 by 8 and I cut it at 2 pieces 4 inches, and that will perfectly cover this pocket right here. Okay, so we're going to use both sides. I'm just going to cover that pocket with this pattern paper. And get that ready to go. Again, an 1/8 inch all the way around. So a little bit more of a border than I normally do. That's okay. Well, I like it. All right, I like the contrast with the colors. So pretty. Okay, so our pocket's ready. And then what you're going to need is you're going to need one piece of the solid coordinating paper, and that's going to help complete the pocket. Okay, this is 4 1/2 wide, and then I cut it 1/16 inch shy of 8 1/4. So take it back 1/16 of an inch. So cut it in between 8 1/8 and 8 1/4. Okay, so what this is going to do is line up on here, and then this will tuck in the pocket and help complete our page on the back. Okay, so that's how we're going to be able to use one piece of paper to cover that. So putting coarse glue on the back of that, and then we'll go ahead and line that up like so. Okay. I lost my spreader. Where is it? Good gravy. Okay. We'll take our book. The first thing what we're going to do is we're going to lay this down. And again, this is going to glue down so that there's an 1/8 of an inch border. So we're going to do this side first. Okay. I'm going to stand up just so I can see it better. I always say that because then if I talk, it sounds louder because I'm closer to the mic. And then you might hear my chair roll across the room, so I don't know why. All right, a warning. Okay, so that's going to go down like that. And then we'll just go ahead and glue these down. It started off really sunshiny today, and then it got dark again, and now it's sunshiny again. I think today is going to be our nice day before rain starts and pretty much does it all week. So, okay, I'm going to glue those down. Okay, then this is going to tuck in the pocket And that's why I took that extra 1/16 of an inch off. I wanted to make sure that it tucked in nice. Maybe I can get it in the pocket. There we go. There we go. A little bit of a fight. Okay, so the thing that you need to do though is we need to make sure that it is 1/2 inch or 1.5 inches away from the spine of the book, because this is where the mechanism is going to adhere. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my ruler down. I'm going to scooch that in, make sure that it is at 1.5 inches from where that spine is. Okay, and it is. Okay, it's very important that we have that space to glue the mechanism. Okay, so that's where it's going to sit, and it is a little bit snug in there. So then I'm going to turn it around because I can see it better. It's where I want it. I'm going to hold it up and I'm going to glue her down. Okay. Pretty good. Yep, did it. Okay. Didn't move it around. Okay. So, there's that. Okay. Now, let's grab the mechanism. We'll glue that down, and then we can work on our pages while that sets. So, let's find it. So again, these mechanisms come in 2 colors. They're black and white. I use the black in the Halloween album. I'm using white in this one. They come in a pack of 2. So we can grab one of those out, and then they have adhesive strips. And this is how I'll show you how I bound it in. I did use a combination of this and art glitter glue, but they're really fun. When you look at them, they've got a edge here that has kind of the turning mechanism to open this up. You just pinch them and it opens up really nice. Okay, so this part here, this flat part, that's what glues down to your book, or adheres down to your book. Now they have these adhesive strips that are great, but I am going to add a little bit of art glitter glue just to make sure that it stays where it's supposed to. Okay, so I'm just going to take one of those strips off, and I'm going to put it on that flat piece. All right, be careful, do not get it into the curve of the mechanism or on the mechanism, because if you do, then that's not going to turn. It's not going to allow you to put pages in or take pages out, add pages, whatever. Okay, so we're going to put that down, and I'm just going to kind of make sure that's adhered down. I want to really make sure. Okay, so when we glue this down, we're going to put some glue on here first, but I just wanted to show you. So I'm lining this up at the edge of my pearl cardstock. Top and bottom, it is at 4 3/8. Okay, that's the center of my cover. Okay, so it's 4 1/4 centering on this pattern paper here. And when you lay this down, this mechanism is 4 inches tall. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in the center in this space and try to, you know, make it even so that it has a little bit of pearl on both sides. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to take that adhesive backing off, and then I put some art glitter glue on here just to make sure. Don't go too crazy, because you don't want it again to get in the mechanism here, because that part needs to turn so you can open and close this. Okay, and then I'm just going to set that down. Okay, and then I'm going to push it down, hold it for a second, and then we're going to leave it alone and let it dry. Okay, we'll work on our pages, and by the time we get done with our pages, that should be set really nice. But then if we take our ruler out, you know, we've kind of got it centered with the pearl cardstock. I didn't want a bunch of layers underneath this, so that I could make sure that it was on a nice flat surface when I glued it down. And then you just pinch it and you can open it up and add your pages. Isn't that cool? Oh, that looks so cool. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to set this off to the side. Making our pages. You need 5 pages, and that's because that's what the pattern paper allowed. So if you have more paper, you can make more pages, you can make less pages, you can add to them later, but these are the base type pages. 8 1/4 by 8 1/4, you need 5 of those, okay? And then you need to figure out your pattern papers. So I've kind of already gone through my pattern papers and I figured out how I want to do these. So what I'm going to do is I've got them clipped together, is on the front of my 5 pages, I'm going to put this image. And then I kind of went through my papers and I kind of like turned them like a book and wanted to see what I had. So I wanted to make them so that they looked like a layout, okay? So I'm going to use 2 pages the same on both sides. And let me show you in the book here. So when I had pages that were similar, okay, or similar, the same, I can put a photo mat in one spot and a photo mat in another spot, and you can still see kind of the whole picture. And that's why I did that, okay? So you can do whatever you want to do, but that's what I am going to do. So if the 2 pages are facing each other, they're the same, okay? So then if you turn your page, then the next set of papers that I'm going to put down are these, okay? So that'll be that. And then you turn your page. The next set of papers I'm choosing are going to be this beautiful couple walking through their winter wonderland, doing their shopping. Okay. And then turn your page. This will be the next, like so. And then when we get to the last page, I'm going to use the same image as I put on the front, okay? So a little bit of symmetry there. So what you need to do is figure out your pages and just glue them down. They're going to glue down 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, and then we'll get to the next step, which is making the holes, okay? So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, y'all, I had a camera malfunction and I didn't get the part where I put the pages in. So I want to go back and talk about that and tell you how I did it. And then I will finish decorating and we'll go through the walkthrough. But right now, this is what this book looks like. I did use that crinkle ribbon to tie the bow around the spine, and I just think it's really beautiful. When I did do that, I put some 1-inch score tape that I have down the spine and added it here. And then what I did, if we'll use this as a guide, well, actually, let's use this as a guide because this is long enough. What I did was I measured 1 length and 2 lengths, and then the 3rd stretch is where I glued down so that I had enough ribbon to tie the bow around the top side, okay? So I put the score tape there, I laid that down after measuring it, and then on this side here, let me open this up, I put a little bit of score tape here just to tack it right here, and then just tied my bow. And I love how that looks. That's a beautiful ribbon, and it just looks gorgeous right there. So that is my spine element for this particular album, okay? And then let's talk about the pages. So I totally goofed and did not film how I punched the holes, but it's really easy, and I'll just go through it one more time and show you. So there's just the 2 holes, really easy, but you have to put the pattern paper down on the sides because the hole does go through the pattern paper as well, okay? And then when you lay this down and put them in your binder, you can see that you get that nice 1/8 inch border of your pearlescent card all the way around. It's just gorgeous. Now, all you have to do now is figure out where you want photo mats and all that kind of thing, and then just add those to the pages. But this is what it looks like so far. And and then I'll show you the template and how to cut it, or how to make it, so you can cut the pages, okay? Or, you know, punch the pages. But that's what my page looks like so far before I put any photo mats in. And then we've got our pocket back here, okay? So looking at the template, I cut a piece of paper that was 8 1/4 inch tall. It doesn't matter how wide it is because it's just a template. And since they come in packs of 2, I'm keeping this because I still have one white one and one black one left over, so I can keep this and use this again. Okay, so then what I did with this was I took my ruler, and it's 8 1/4 tall. So I used my centering ruler and I centered it at 4 1/8 from that center 0 and 3/8 of an inch in. Okay, so I measured in 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch, and then I took my pencil and I made a mark at 1 3/8 inch from the center. And once I had that pencil mark in this black card, then I took my 1/4 inch regular old office hole punch, and I always open the end. Let me get those holes out of there so that I can see the hole, okay? So I can see that hole there. So when I put my card in there, if there is a dot there, I can see the dot. And I put that in there and I centered the dot that I drew in there and then punched, okay? So I did that on both sides. So again, this is 8 1/4 inch tall, which is the same height as the cardstock of my pages, okay? Measured in 3/8 of an inch, and then from the center, measured 1 3/8 inch up, and that's where I put that dot, and then I centered that dot to punch the hole, okay? 1 3/8 inch from the center. That's where I did that. So then when you do that, then you can take this, and let's just pretend my pages were not punched. You line it up at the edge, all flush. And you see how it matches top and bottom and right to the edge. And then I turn my hole punch over. Make sure that thing's closed now so that the little circles don't fly everywhere. Okay, make sure those are even. And then I like to take the punch part of it, the actual circle itself, and center it over the hole in my template and then punch, okay? Now, when you do that, you either have to have a really good grip on your paper and so it doesn't slide around, or you can use clamps to clamp this down so it doesn't move around, and then punch your holes, okay? And then you just pop them in your binder mechanism and there you go, okay? So that's how I did that. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened and why that didn't take. So I still have... out of this sheet, I used the top one for the front page. I still have 5 of these I can use. I still have all of these ephemera pieces, and I've got some really cool ideas for this. So I got to do the decorating, but I will do that. And yeah, that's the end of the tutorial. So I know you have seen that in the walkthrough. So there you have it. So that's the end of the tutorial. I'm sorry I missed this part. I don't know how that happened. That made me really cranky. Because I still need to put this guy on here. I still have my fashion taupe self-adhesive embellishments, my little flat back pearls that I gotta use. I've got some beautiful green twine that works with this. And then I still have some more ribbon left over and the ephemera pieces. So that's the end of my tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I know you have seen all the decorations and everything I did through the walkthrough. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please, please, please let me know. I really appreciate you doing that because I'm always happy to help. So thanks for watching. Stay crafty. Have a great day. I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.